And so Tamika reached out, and I was like, "Oh, here's all the information," and I was just like showing her everything that I've done, how to do it, and stuff like that. And she turned around and said something so amazing to me that I thought was strange because I have such a supportive village. She said, "Thank you so much for sharing," because people don't like to share this kind of stuff. They don't want to tell you how to put yourself on. You know what I mean? How to get it in and stuff like that. So anyway, I wanted to.
And my daughter was able to go to the Chick-fil-A
Windshade
camp, and you showed me how to apply for the funding. So because it's very expensive, but it's an amazing experience. Due to COVID, she didn't repeat because she was eager to go back. It was to the point where she had kept connections with the counselor there because it's really a biblical setup, and that's her thing. So. She was looking forward to actually becoming a counselor, but like I said, she didn't get to go back, and I think you kind of need to be a part of it and get in it to, dedicate to it, because it does take a whole summer dedication. But yeah, so I appreciate that, because now she's 17, she'll be 18, and she's doing really, really well. So thank you for that. That was a great experience. None of my kids, I did the Bible week, all the churches have Bible week. So what I would do is, because I've been in Snellville, I've been in Gwinnett County since '93. And this was when it wasn't a lot of us out here at all. We didn't have programs. We didn't have anything out here. They really believed that if you lived out here, you were sufficient. Like you didn't need anything. Down to even the school systems. Like my son struggled with learning, and it was basically just pushing him through, through. And I'm like, what's going on? But Gwinnett is known for like Center of Excellence, School of Excellence, and they would lose funding if they had too many kids that was not hitting the marker. I didn't know that. I just couldn't figure out like what's going on here, and it was such a disservice to him because he should have been in programs that were geared to inner city. We didn't have them. Still had to go to big people. There was no juvenile happening with this. But what happened is instead of the bank, he decided he wanted to rob people at the gas station. Him and his friends. Which is when I say you don't want to tell anybody, it's like you definitely don't want to tell anybody that you were targeting like people. Not saying I get banks, but I kind of get that, I kind of corporate get that versus a personal. More. So that was the thing with him, but because he shouldn't have been there, he just had, this was not even his thing. He had hooked up. He was working at McDonald's. The McDonald's was on 124. Do you know where Centerville Publix and the Walmart, that Quick Trip was not there. That it was a regular gas station, and then that McDonald's, he worked at that McDonald's right there. And so he met some young guys from California, some Chicago, California, somewhere, and they were older. And this is his story. They got him drunk on Hypnotic. That's when Hypnotic was big, because he's 32 now. So Hypnotic was big, and he's not, to this day, he does not drink, he does not do drugs, he doesn't do anything. So they got him drunk, they got him high, and supposedly they went to the gas, it wasn't a Quick Trip, whatever it was at that time. And he was so unskilled, thank God. He tried to rob the person and couldn't get the gun out. Couldn't get it out. But slow, shouldn't have been doing it, ran to where he worked, ran to the McDonald's, and it was closed. But because he worked there, he thought they would open the door. So he's knocking on the door, and all this time is being recorded. So this is how they got who he was. So they go to the school.
Look, you're more pissed off at him for being stupid.
Gun didn't come out, so it was unsuccessful. And so they go. He was at South Gwinnett. He was going to South Gwinnett at the time. So they go to South Gwinnett, and they go to McDonald's. But I was really good friends with the manager. I'm the one that got him the job at McDonald's. And so she called. She said, something's going on. She said, they came up here and wanted your address, but I wouldn't give it to them to the house. And when you say they come to the house, this was just Gwinnett County. They came to my house, front door, back door.
Guns drawn.
They came real deal, Holyfield. They came. Wow. It was like, what in the world? But yeah, so was
it during the day or at night?
It was daytime. It was.
And you happened to be home.
Afternoon. Because I was bartending at the time. So I was always at home in the day. I worked at night. Same story as you. I've been with my husband 30 years. My son's 32, so that's not his dad, but we've been together just as long. So he goes through all of that, and my son is probably 130 pounds, 5'5", going to the real jail. I was like, oh my God. So the good thing is I had legal background.
Right. Okay.
So I was very comfortable having conversations with
legal
whoever.
Background too. This
Oh,
is
wow.
interesting.
Wow.
Yeah,
So I was
good.
comfortable having conversations with the judge, the DA, whoever, the warden.
Everybody, right?
I mean, it was to the point where, just to fast forward a little bit, he stayed in county. They were supposed to move him. They kept him in county till he was 21.
Wow.
God was so good.
Yeah.
Wow.
He did not. He stayed in county. You know, county is definitely a little
Right.
lenient compared to prison, as they call it. So he was able to stay there to 21, which gave me a chance to adjust and accept it, and just figure out how does this look. You know, how do I go to sleep at night? I couldn't watch First 48. I probably just
Oh my
started
gosh, I
watching
stopped.
it.
Yeah,
I just started watching it last year. Okay, and he was home for 8 years.
Wow.
So I totally get it. I get all of that. But it was very important to me that anyone in the system, I don't care what he did, that's not where he came from. I'm
exactly. That's true.
That's
true.
And
That's
we really did not have a hard time. I was able to, again, go into judges' chambers. I was able to have those conversations. I was able to go to Gwinnett, which was don't look like us, and let them know who I am, who he is, and he does have a support team. When he did get to prison, I drove right on up there. I was able to bring him insurance. I went to Walmart. I was able to bring him groceries into the prison.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I did not play.
Yeah.
We not gonna play no games about this one, because it was just, he got first offenders, so that was good for him.
Yeah, my son did too.
He was able to get first offenders. The judge really, they really
First
believed that he was coerced into it. It wasn't really him. It was the older people and all of that. He told on himself. He went from one robbery to, he told everything. So he had two robberies.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So one they couldn't even prove, and then the other one that they knew of, but he still told. So he still had two robberies.
How many kids do you have altogether?
I have three.
Three.
Okay.
And then she has another beautiful
And
daughter.
so he came home, did 8 years home, went back. Did 8 years home. He's back home again now.
What'd he go back for this time?
Because you can't do anything.
You can't do
get
it.
you can't do a
What'd he
misdemeanor.
miss?
He want to carry a gun.
Yep.
He wants to carry a gun.
Lord.
It's just, he's like, Mom, these streets, you just never know what's going to happen. And so he was at a friend's house. None of the other stuff that was going on, thank God he didn't get involved with that, but because he was on probation, he had 15 months left to do on probation. We went in front of the judge. My aunt is a district representative in Tampa. I had her talk to the judge from official to official.
Right.
We did everything we could. The judge made it perfectly clear. I told him I did not want to see him. Now, mind you, my son did 8 years in prison, 8 years home, so that's 16 years, but his total sentencing was 20. 20 to intent to serve.
Right.
So what ended up happening is he had to make up those 2 years that was missing. So he had to go back for the gun, and so now he's home. He's been home a week. He's been home a week.
He just got home.
So let me ask you this: when he went away, he didn't get locked up right away, right? He had to stay home, wait till trial, or did he get locked up right away?
He never came back home.
Never came back.
Got it from the time that they came to your house. He never came back home.
I paid for 2 lawyers. Well, I did my husband. We paid for 2 lawyers. We thought we were creating a dream team.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So here's what's interesting when you consider what they're carrying. You know what I mean? The stuff that they're carrying, that's like on their shoulders, on their back, in their dreams, when they wake, every moment of the day, and they have to turn around and shift. That creates a lot of mental chaos. So they want to issue gets on top of the other.
Right,
It starts
exactly.
stacking. You never got a chance to heal from the old stuff because you're back at the grind, back at taking care of the household. You know, there's nonstop. And so for us black women, we don't have a village that can come in and give us time to rest and things like that. Just like when we have kids. You know, we're home with that infant by ourselves. Whereas a lot of times in the other cultures, they have a whole team. We used to have. We had the villages when we were coming up.
Right.
I didn't have that village. You had help. Yeah, Sherry had help. Her grandma was available, but I didn't have the help. And I moved down here with a 1-year-old. So, thanks, babe. I appreciate that.
No worries.
Who wants to go next?
I guess I'll go. She gave me the nod. I'm Toyonda. I'm originally from Jersey.
I'm sorry, how long you been here?
Oh, wow. I came in 88. I'm from Tampa.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm originally from Jersey. Moved to Virginia Beach with my ex-husband. So I was married there. That's where we had our son. His name is Imani. We ended up getting divorced so I went through separation, divorce, and all of that there. And when my son turned 13, his dad was already here. He was married, and so we thought it would just be easier for me to transition here. I was headed to Texas, but detoured because I thought that relationship between him and his father was more important than really what I wanted to do. So, you know, I think that's just the norm. That's what we do. One, not just as black women, but just as mothers. We make those types of sacrifices. Go ahead.
So I met Toy. She was introduced to me by one of my buyers that came to me, Rebecca. Rebecca introduced Toy to me when she came in town. And Rebecca said, you got to hook up with Angie. And so we got her first property then. It's been several since. But from that first property, Toy just has this type of personality where you're just going to lock on. This is family. So it's been how many years?
It's been 10 years now. It seemed like it's been longer though. Even some of the things that she's kind of walked me through, whether it be, you know, with single parenting, just giving me some of those, some of her wisdom, those nuggets, and helping me even still with the emotional attachment, you know, that I had with my ex-husband, because I had been with him since I was 18. So even though I think at the time it may have been maybe close to 10 years we had been divorced since when I first came here, but there was still that emotional attachment that I was, you know, kind of navigating through, still on my journey to healing, because it was just never, there was no plan B for me. So divorce for me was very devastating. You know, I look at people now and they separate, they go on to the next person, and that just blows my mind, like how you do that. You know what I'm saying? Right. I remember holding on to his leg, like, you know, when he walking out, like, please don't leave us. You can do whatever you want, So just devastated for me. And then having to get myself together and go back to work and serve other people. And it's like, okay, but tears rolling down my face. So, you know, during 9 to 5, I got to put up this front because I worked at a bank. And then after that, 9 to 5 till, you know, our son got a little older. And, you know, we had been through some other things already, like in Jersey, New York. My ex-husband had been on drugs before. So we went through he was on crack. You know, that's when crack was big. So went through all of that before. And that's why I sold drugs and all kinds of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Back then. And so now here we are in Virginia, and our lifestyle's totally different. This is where we gave our life to Christ. You know, we went through the whole withdrawal things. You know, y'all remember that movie was New Jack City with Pookie and went through all of that. You know what I'm saying? Together. So, of course, when we get through our stuff, it's like, okay, well, we went through that. This is really, you know what I'm saying? This is really nothing. We can get through, you know, all of that other stuff. But I remember when he said that he was going to leave. And so when he started that whole transition of, you know, pawning his ring, and then I would hear, you know, things of what he was already doing out there with other people. And I was still like in my mind, like he's not going to leave or whatever. And so, but anyway, I realized I still have a child. Survival mode just like kicks in, because what if he does? And so I remember going on this interview. I had never worked at a bank before. And I went on this interview, and it was a sister sitting in front of me. She was the VP, went to the big corporate office and everything downtown. And she just said to me, she said, tell me why I should give you this job. I'll tell you no lie, I just bawled. I just cried. Oh my God, and she just said, here, take this tissue. And I told her, I said, my husband is getting ready to leave. I have a baby. I need a job, da, da, da. She said, you're going to get this job. We're going to make sure you get this job. Wipe your face. She knew I had never did anything in banking, whatever. She sent me on the next interview. I guess she already told that lady, give her this job. So I had the job. And so, you know, at that time I had a house, car, everything. But he left with like $40 on the table. Me with the house, just got to Virginia 2 years, all this, don't really know anybody. But I gravitated towards my church family. Okay. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, if I had not given my life to Christ 2 years before that, I would not be here. My son would not be here because I had previously struggled really bad with suicide. God has removed the cuts from it because I used to cut myself. I used to take pills, all of that. My ex-husband found me one time, him and my mom, they found me one time. But one of probably the most authentic and sincere prayers I ever prayed was the day that he left, and I sat in the middle of our living room just balled up in a fetal position. And my simple prayer was, God, help me to believe what you said about me in your word and who I am, so that no matter who comes and goes, killing myself will never be an option. And so at that point, I felt like that deliverance started. You know what I'm saying? I was on that track. Of course, you have the residue from it. You know what I'm saying? Because if things come up, and then depression and all of this stuff, had a nervous breakdown on the job, taking medicine, all of that. But I was like, because it makes you so numb, like, you just be like straight numb. And I'm like, okay, so that's not even me. My authentic personality doesn't even, you know, like come through. But fast forward, son got 13 and I was headed to Texas, but my ex-husband wanted, you know, he was like, I really want that opportunity for us. It was easy for him because he was remarried. I wasn't. So I was like, okay, came here, been here now. Oh God, we moved in here 2010, been here 13 years now. My son has since moved to Dallas, Texas last year, but went through all of that, you know, connected with a wonderful church at the time. And started on this journey like, okay, wanting more, just really wanting more. And of course, once I met Angie, you know, with this house, because I didn't even think like, you know, thinking that where we come from is like building a house, like that's only for them. You know what I mean? I don't know how much money you need for this land and So when I passed through this neighborhood, you know, making these sacrifices, making sure my son was in a good school. And I passed through this one area where I was looking, I, you know, dropped them off because there's always these nice big houses I'm dropping them off at. But in my mind, I'm like, well, I can have this too. There was something even still through the struggle. I was like, it's something more, you know what I'm saying, that was like calling me, that was pulling me. And so when I saw this one neighborhood over in Ackworth, Bentwater section, it said houses, I think it was only like under 200,000 or a little over 200. I was like, oh, this is no. So I called the people the next day. And I said, so how much is it to build a house over here? And, you know, do I have to pay for the land and the plan and all of this stuff? She was like, well, just $3,000 to sign the contract. And then, you know, you pick out, you know, the plan that you want. And, you know, she walked me through I said, $3,000? Oh, right. I was like, I'll be there tomorrow. I mean, you know, it was a big deal, my first house. And so, you know, go through that process. My girlfriend, Rebecca, connected me with Angie. And I remember when I closed on the house and we moved in, my son was like, everybody keeps saying, you know, congratulations, they happy for us, all of this stuff. And he was like, he said, I think I would appreciate it more if I understood the struggle. He done totally forgot we was homeless and all of that. Like, you don't remember that? I guess he figured it was like a sleepover because it was one of his friends' house, you know. But I was like, you remember the other person's house that we slept at? So, but yeah, so he was just like, I wish I understood the struggle. And that's when we had that conversation. Like, I kept that from you because what would you have done had I shared the struggle with you? First thing he said is what we know. Where you going to go with that quick money? Sell drugs. That's the first thing he said. So I was like, that is why I didn't tell you. You know what I'm saying? The struggle. So I don't know how much you want me to go into like story, but so. All right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hang on. Nobody moved yet.
Okay. Look,
So
you
what
know,
I
when we
will say
start.
in my story, the FBI, they were just so nice. I just never seen a bunch of nice white men. And, you know, and then here's the thing: when you're a first time offender, like they asked my son, was you raised in a good home? Was you in foster care?
Wow.
Because if you were in foster care, went through abuse and all of that, they take time off your sentence. For kids who life didn't start off too good. Yeah, they get time off.
Because they know that impacted them.
Right. So he told. So the judge said, you know, your son told us, I am not going to rely on my mother. I had a mother and 2 dads.
Wow.
Nobody told me to rob this bank but me. So whatever time I get is what I get.
Wow.
I came from a good family. Yeah.
Wow.
And that made the difference. So people tend to think, like. And I always thought the single parents had the best kids anyway. I mean,
Wow.
yeah,
Are you serious?
But yeah,
Also, what I've noticed, but I don't mean to cut you out, you get judged when you're married.
yeah, you do.
You get extremely judged by any hiccups or any challenges that occur because people assume that it should be better for you.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
And so, it's pretty interesting. And what I noticed is because with my husband not being my son's father, he really got it. It was like, he did this. No, he did. He no, now. No, we're not gonna even go there.
Yeah.
So, and my my son said the same thing. I had to go pick his clothes up. He had Prada. He had Prada.
Yes, yeah.
He had no reason to rob me.
Just something to do.
Something to do,
Something
yeah.
different.
It was something to do. He wanted to be grown. He wanted to be grown before it was time and just something to do.
Even with me being out there selling drugs, it's like I didn't have to do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I was around it. You know what I mean? My stepdad, I used to, my ex-husband, he put me on because my stepdad had this long pinky. I didn't know what that pinky meant. My ex-husband, he was like, that's how, what he used to like snort. I was like, what? Get out of here. And it's crazy because my stepfather ended up actually committing suicide.
Wow. Yeah.
And so, and when you think about like even generational curses and stuff, and I'm thinking now, I'm saved, God has delivered me and my son, and well, let me go back. This woman that I met who has been my mentor since I was 23, God strategically placed her in my life. She's still in my life from the time I was 23. Crazy coming out of Jersey, and she's like, she met me, and but it's crazy because the things that she walked me through, she had to walk my son through like 2-3 years ago because he struggled. I mean, and it's something how the enemy, he'll take things to another level. My son had a box cutter. And just, remember I told you how I used to? I was, I was careful. But him, lift his shirt, blood like everywhere, just all of that. Like he would end up like giving it to me because sometimes it's just like, all right, Ma, I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do that, you know what I'm saying, anymore. And even though, he grew up in a single parent home, like he's a really good, he's a good dude. He's a good kid. Anybody can like see that. But I knew that there was going to come a time where he just couldn't unpack that suitcase. Like it just exploded. Stuff with the NFL, because he was headed to NFL, that didn't work out. And then things with, his father, and then the girlfriend, that really took it out. Then his friends, and then being the only child too. Like I noticed how he would accept a lot of foolishness from other people and what they do to him, you know what I mean? Because he doesn't have anybody. And that's where the guilt for me, having had abortions. Like you're lonely because I've had, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And when I wrote my book, I had to tell him about it. Because I knew it was going to come a day because I've shared, being molested, raped, and all of this other stuff with him. But I hadn't told him that. Only because he's the only child. How is he going to handle knowing that I could have had a sibling, but you chose?
Can y'all let the cards out?
Oh. Okay.
You
Okay.
How we gonna not talk? It's gonna be hard.
I know, right?
He told us to be quiet because we sure enough been sharing still.
Move the cards, right?
Yeah.
Can one of y'all go on the camera too? Yeah. Okay.
You said move the car, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can pull up on the, one of y'all can pull up on the side.
Where you going? Hey, baby. Right. She is. Okay.